Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Haley Voorhees, and I am the Chief Administrative Officer and the Director of Public Relations at Student. We're so grateful to have you here this morning. Here with me today is Emily Quinn, and she will be presenting on design thinking, digital marketing, and you. So just a few little housekeeping rules. For today's session, if you have any questions for Emily or for a member of the Student team, please leave those in the chat bar on your right-hand side of your screen. We will be doing a Q&A session right after her presentation, so feel free to drop questions in there that you have. We will also be hosting a giveaway today as well, so the most engaged attendee at this session will receive a $5 Dunkin' Donuts gift card. You can be engaged by responding to any questions that Emily has, asking questions of your own, leaving thoughts, things like that. And you can also be active online using our hashtag ProfCon20. And then right at the end of the session, we will announce that winner. So right into Emily's session. Emily has a fierce passion for creativity and marketing strategy. Her career background in industry allows her to bring textbook concepts to life as an instructor of marketing at the Beacom School of Marketing, where she teaches business and marketing classes. Emily holds an associate degree from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in Los Angeles, California, a Bachelor of Arts in Theater from Gustavus Adolphus College, and a Master of Business Administration with a concentration in marketing from the University of Sioux Falls. Emily, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Haley. Nobody mentioned donuts, okay? Wow, and Dunkin' Donuts to boot. So I am hoping for lots of conversation, lots of questions. Hopefully I'm sparking ideas as we get into the discussion here around design thinking, digital marketing, and you. So thanks so much to Haley and the team at Student for all that they've done and all that they will do here as we discuss all of these interesting things, plus donuts. Okay, so my name is Emily Quinn. I'm a faculty member at the University of South Dakota Beacom School of Business. I teach marketing and business courses, and I'm passionate around brand, digital marketing, and integrated marketing communications. So today, I am going to focus on one particular topic, and then as we do, sort of branch off in various tangents along that same pathway. So I'm passionate really about design thinking and its integration with digital marketing. So this is a time period of crisis, right? We have a lot of unknowns. We have, teachers and leaders and executives and corporations really kind of sitting around going, what do we do next? What is our pathway forward? And so what we are required to do as teachers and leaders is train our marketers to be champions. Once they graduate and enter that workplace, we need them. So I think this is a really critical next 12, 24 months of informing our students how to regain some sort of hope in our economy. So a little bit about me. This is my husband and I, Joe, in the green there, and our three wonderful kids. Of course, Zoe, at age 19 months, made an appearance in both photos there. Her older brother, Taylor, on the left, and her doting sister, age 12, Ellie, on the right. So we are a happy, busy family. Hopefully somebody doesn't bust in behind me. Perhaps you've had that same experience. I've put post-its, I've taped the door closed, but we all know that sometimes that happens. So Joe has a construction business, owns his own business, Quinn Home Improvement, in case you're looking for any home improvement or remodeling or commercial needs. But we are a busy family. We have, our schedule is full, but our hearts are full as well. So a little bit about me. I never expected to land in academia. It was just a vocation that I never really thought would interest me. I never thought of myself as a teacher. I didn't really know that this was something that I would love. Then I turned 40 and I just realized that I wanted to share my experiences. I wanted to, really tell this next generation of the mistakes that I made, and hopefully they would not make. And so in a truly random, synchronistic experience, I landed an adjunct job, and 3 months later, I was hired on as full-time faculty at University of South Dakota. So these past 3 years have just flown by. But what I am passionate about is this next generation, to really solve those problems that Gen X and above, we're struggling, right? So I love this generation for their energy, their passion. I think they have a lot of wisdom. I think they have a strong sense of self. And so that's what makes it fun to teach, right? And especially in the realm of digital marketing. I think all of those characteristics, strong sense of self, energy, wisdom, are really going to make digital marketing what it needs to be in the future. So as you can see from the slide, I worked in industry prior to coming to academia. I worked in 8 different industries, everything from hospital to research to craft beer. And so I know firsthand those battles that happen in the conference rooms, especially around digital marketing concepts. So when I'm standing in front of students and I'm talking about digital marketing and I'm looking at the hope in their eyes, and I'm trying to tell them, you've got to be strong, because those ideas are going to get slammed, they're going to get challenged, and you are going to fall on your face. So I know these knockout, drag-out fights of SEO and, who's on the first page of Google above the fold, you got to get above the fold, all of those conversations that happen in conference rooms. And so what I feel like I am charged to do, and what companies like Stukent and all of us are challenged to do, is to make our next generation leaders strong. So at this point, I should probably just mention that I don't have a undergrad in marketing. I have an undergrad in theater. So as Haley mentioned, I was trained at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and Gustavus Adolphus, and I've really honed in on my love of improv. So I'm giving you all of this context because I think it really colors my passion around design thinking. And coming from a realm of storytelling, coming from a realm of improv where you have nothing, literally 2 actors on a stage, and that is it, and you have to create something from nothing. So that passion around that really parlayed quite nicely into my experience in business. And sometimes business schools or marketing departments don't often kind of train for that grit that's needed for that kind of performance overall. So this context of improv background and my experience at Electric Pulp, which is a web development firm actually located in Sioux Falls, my hometown where I reside, where we worked on websites for Stephen Colbert and Justin Bieber and Incase and lots of big clients. We kind of got discovered by Guy Kawasaki, if you're familiar with him. And so I got to work on a lot of interesting projects, and that really centralized how strong we had to be from a digital marketing strategy standpoint, working with those big clients. And I got to be listen on the phone with Stephen Colbert. I wasn't talking with him, but I was listening to him. So all of these kind of components of my life, this mind map, really kind of illustrates that passion for design thinking and digital marketing, and how important I think that intersection is. So let's see, moving on. All right. Great, we've got some graphic designers. I'm just looking at the chat. Graphic designers, web designer, awesome. We need you. Great, nice to hear from you all. Fabulous. And from the Philippines. Hello, great. Okay, let's move on here. So we hear from IDEO, David Kelly. IDEO, of course, a wonderful agency company that really has put these strong foundations of design thinking into the workplace and really led a lot of that thoughts around how to impact business with that. So I'm just going to read this. Obviously, we can all read the slide here, but this will really kind of centralize what we're trying to talk about today. The main tenet of design thinking is empathy for the people you are trying to design for. Leadership is exactly the same thing, building empathy for the people that you're entrusted to help. So I would really challenge us to think of ourselves as these people that we're trying to help, these students who are looking at the world that is changing every day, and how do we help them as leaders in the academic world. And so that main tenet of design thinking is that empathy for the people that you're trying to design for. Thinking about from their perspective, thinking their worldview, and making sure that we match a syllabus, activities, assignments, our teaching style, making sure we match that. So here we are today. June 17th, 2020. World is a different place than it was 120 days ago. And when we get back into this classroom, these students are all going to come from different experiences. Some of them have lost loved ones from COVID-19, or they know people that have struggled through it, lost their jobs, all of these twists and turns. And so I think that empathy is probably one of the most important skills that we can have going back into the classroom. Now, does that mean that you give all A's? No, but it does mean that you build that classroom experience to make sure that they are trained leaders for tomorrow. So, marketing has taken these twists and these turns that really nobody ever imagined. Uber told us not to use their service, came out with a beautiful video campaign for that. Peloton is giving away workouts for free. So we are training the helpers and the business leaders of tomorrow. So today's 3 takeaways, if you take away anything from our next 20 minutes or so, empathy is extremely important in digital marketing. Design thinking is a concept that's too often left to just the creatives. Now, I'm a creative myself, right? So there's no shade thrown here, but I think we need to integrate this with the people that are maybe more analytical minded and maybe more straightforward. So hopefully after our discussion today, you'll believe that too. Teaching in an empathetic way can lead to great results. Again, this doesn't mean that all A's. It just means meeting our students where they are today. All right, so let's see. So my first love, of course, was theater and the unpredictability of it, and all of these kind of layers to make sure that the performance is on point. Well, of course, marketing is very similar to that. Digital marketing, we put something on the stage, we hope that it doesn't flop. If it does, we're running good A/B testing and making sure that we get the results that we need to change up, which is that improv. And when I stepped out of that spotlight and into video production, I just realized how much needed to happen in order for the performance to really shine, and all of these steps that we take to make sure that it does. So when I, had these kind of collaboration sessions behind the camera or in IT departments or marketing departments, there was really this kind of wonderful spark that happened, and that collaboration didn't often happen once we got into more of that project management. So here we are, with the rugby, kind of the scrum methodology. We're agile in how we're moving that ball down the field. We're making sure that, we're passing the ball back and forth. It's this kind of beautiful synergy. But what they don't tell you about kind of an agile way of thinking with project management is these guys are tough, right? Like nobody, look at that bicep, like nobody wants to mess with them. And being tough in the business world isn't always necessarily possible. Well, you go to more of a waterfall methodology and thinking that we can just design a platform or an app or a Facebook campaign or whatever it is in this beautiful kind of waterfall way, and the water will just drip down at the end and everyone will be happy. Well, that isn't always the case either. Sometimes that it doesn't necessarily flow like it should. Okay, so, people pretend that it's this wonderful kind of linear way, but it doesn't always happen. And then we get to the boardroom, right? So we've had this kind of process, either we're operating in this really nimble, agile way, or we've had this beautiful flow of the waterfall of project management to get to the idea that we are going to pitch to these executives in this boardroom. These chairs are not 6 feet apart, but I'm sure there will be more stock footage in the future to show that. But anyway, stick with me here. We would get to this boardroom, and if the decision makers are truly trained, they're going to understand the concepts that we're pitching, but not all the time, right? So we need to create leaders that are very, very strong. So, in my working experience, before we got to the boardroom, we would have these wonderful collaborative sessions. Everybody would be working together. We'd have this strong leader, but that wouldn't, we would leave, we would, huddle together, but it didn't always transfer back to that boardroom experience. So, by helping our students work together and creating syllabus and assignments in a very design thinking kind of way, I think that we will be better off overall. So often, once we would get to the boardroom, we would design and leave with the well-known concept of the camel, right? You go in to design a horse and you leave with the camel, which is useful, but not always that relevant. And then we would leave, as the digital marketing team and go, man, we had this great solution, but we left with a camel. And so it would be disappointing. There would be heartache. And what I realized after kind of coming across the concept of design thinking is that we weren't empathetic about the people in the room, and we weren't empathetic about the actual user. We had missed that. We had created a solution that was really beautiful and really amazing, but it didn't necessarily think about the people that we were pitching to. So that's what my classroom exercises try to do. So when we go back to the classroom, when we think about, how we're going to do this, I would challenge us to think about this in a very elegant way, in a very simple way, in a very beautiful way. Now, these are all terms that you don't necessarily hear with design thinking and marketing in an elegant way, in a beautiful and a sophisticated way. But that's where I think digital marketing and design thinking come together and intersect in a great way. So when I first started teaching a few years ago, I was stuck. I knew all of these kind of wars that had waged on in the conference rooms and in digital marketing. I knew all of what to do. I knew how to design marketing strategy, but I really didn't understand how to take that other than storytelling in the classroom and translate that. Well, I happened across a magical Google search, Jacob Cook, who is owner and CEO of Tadpole out of Bozeman, Montana, and they work with lots of big clients there. He also created a textbook, and it's called On Digital Marketing. And so I've used that for the past several years in my digital marketing classes. And what I love, kind of back to that simplicity, that flower, that elegance, that just beautiful kind of approach, is it basically states that 4 basic principles in all online efforts are as follows. And these are great. And if you think about any sort of experience, whether you are going to Amazon, or you're going to Google, or you're following through in a transaction, they really separate into these 4 main purposes. So what we are tasked to do is drive users to a digital property through lots of other tactics and lots of ways to do that. We're asked to cultivate a relationship with those users. We're spending 70% of our time there. We're converting these users to a prospect or a fan or a paying customer. And then we're doing so well that we're earning their loyalty and retaining these relationships going forward. So I love this process, this customer journey that we are tasked to do. And so I'll use that throughout my talk today about how we're going through the process with digital marketing. So if we're tasked to do these drive, cultivate, convert, and retain, if we're asked to do these 4 simple things, whatever we're doing, however complex the marketing strategy is, if we're asked to do these 4 things, then when we get down to it, that's what we're trying to actually create in this design experience and design thinking experience. So let me just turn my notes here. So my thesis is our job in the classroom is to create the next generation of problem solvers and not rule followers. I think we realize that rule followers don't necessarily make it through challenges like what we've experienced. And so teaching them how to solve problems with digital marketing is going to be a really effective tool for them. All right. Let's see. Let me center myself here. So perhaps some of you are familiar with the concept of design thinking, or seen a TED Talk about it, or have actually gone to IDEO or Stanford D School. I'd be interested in hearing in any of the comments if that's you. And so really what design thinking is all about is understanding people, creating design and solving problems through design, brainstorming, building ideas, getting that feedback to make sure it's that user-centric way of solving problems. So there's lots of different kind of ways of articulating what design thinking is. I pulled this from IDEO, but the Stanford D School has more of those kind of 5 stages of empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So a little bit different flow, but this looks really linear, right? This kind of framing a question, gathering inspiration, generating ideas, making those ideas tangible, which is kind of prototyping, testing, and then sharing that story. This looks very linear. Well, what's great about this process is it's not agile. It's not waterfall in terms of project management, which I know is kind of over here in kind of methodology, but this isn't linear, right? We can go and we can test and we can frame a question, we can go back and forward. It's all messy, all right? So thinking about that design thinking approach, these are these kind of series of steps to solve that particular problem that we have. So what I'll go through in just a little bit is ideas for assignments that follow these kind of same 5 standards of design thinking, and hopefully spark some ideas for assignments in your classroom. So how it can be used in digital marketing, it's creating solutions that matter. Remember, that camel that we would kind of typically design for the boardroom. It's creating solutions that matter. So if you're set out to create a camel, get that camel. But if you're going for the horse, go for the thoroughbred. So it can also, finding a path forward for the client that wasn't possible. If you've worked in the industry, you know how often this happens, is that you create this beautiful strategy and then you pass it on and it lands flat. And so really getting at the heart of what you're trying to accomplish and making them more successful than ever. And then making it collaborative for all involved. We need each other. We need all of us. And so that collaboration is really important. And I think design thinking can help you do that. So if you are looking for some further teaching other than Emily Quinn, which I can't imagine why you would, but the great starting point is IDEO. There's a D-School starter kit. These were links, but now this is a PDF, so can't link that, but that search should allow you to bring that up. There is certifications that you can get. There is a curriculum that you can download. So they have made this very open, and this is a great kind of starting point if you're interested in doing this. And then I would also challenge you, in addition to your own training and learning, is to create that learning environment of design thinking. So breaking the mold of traditional learning, getting out of that linear path and letting them get their hands dirty, right? Getting them into actual experiences where they might fail, right? The F word that all of us are so scared to use in the classroom. We want things to go in a beautiful way. We want those experiences, those strategies that they create. But what I am challenging you to do as a leader is to, make them sort of fall on their face, for lack of a better word, creating that environment where we have that learning and that safe place to fail is really, really important. So fail so often that you can fail often so you can succeed sooner. And too often I think we kind of formulate our thoughts on the quizzes lead up to the exams, lead up to the presentation, or however you have crafted that. I really think that operating in this way, showing yourself as a leader in this way is important, especially if you are bringing in digital marketing and design thinking into your classroom. So let's go through some assignment examples. We all need tips and tricks and ideas to kind of spark our syllabus, get our enrollment up in our classes. And so these are just a few of the assignment examples that I have used in my classroom. Let's see. So I see the comments over here, so I can't not say something, because I think Kim and Lisa are having kind of an interesting conversation about failing. And so what I am seeing, especially with a 12 and 14-year-old, is the opportunity for them. I've got one entering high school this year and then one in middle school, is that they can retake tests, they can retake quizzes up until the end of the semester. There is that kind of methodology that's happening in those middle schools and high schools. And I haven't done a lot of research or reading. This is just kind of personal experience, but I am having more and more students ask for that ability. So I think so Lydia says the classroom has to be their practice bubble where failure and mistakes are stepping stones. So beautiful. That should be a billboard or what do we want to say? What's bumper sticker? There we go. So I think that's a really important kind of way to operate and a way to craft your classroom. So thank you for that conversation. All right, so let's see. Let's go into some assignment examples. So the first one is kind of following the Stanford D School kind of empathy of the first step. So creating that empathy map. So initially this was created by Dave Gray, and perhaps you're used to seeing kind of the 4-quadrant. Let's see, I'll pull one up here. Perhaps you're used to seeing this kind of 4-quadrant. Well, they've made a little bit of an update here. So this is an empathy map canvas, and at the center we have our user. So we're thinking about what they're feeling, what they're thinking, their pains and their gains. And so these two components, we'll hear about this a little bit more in the user persona that we have, is really getting at the heart as what the issue is, both for the user or perhaps the person that you're pitching to for a design, or a digital marketing idea, you know. And so who are we empathizing with? Who is the person? What is their role in the situation? What do they need to do? What do they need to do differently? What do they see? What do they see in the marketplace, competitors? What are they watching? What are they reading? What are they consuming from a visual standpoint? What do they say? What do they, you know, what words do they use? And we're going to use all of these when we go through all 7 steps. We're going to use all of this to form a strategy, because we're going to be able to pluck these little ideas. So what I often say is this is kind of the mother strain in your apple cider vinegar of digital marketing strategy that you could use then to build a marketing calendar. Because perhaps they are, you know, this particular user goes to a lot of music festivals. So you want to make sure in that marketing calendar we've got all of those music festivals listed. Or perhaps, you know, what do they say? We're using that same content, that same verbiage when we're putting together our social media editorial calendar. So this is such a great starting point for us to then jump off and create a user persona, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this canvas allows that there is a human being behind the screen, right? There is that human being that is using a keyboard, that has a mouse, that, you know, has a water bottle, all of these kind of user-centric ways of thinking that we need to get inside their head. And so this is one of my first exercises that I do to allow them to think more user-centric. Okay, so you can use this kind of more simplified quadrant way, almost like a SWOT analysis. Yes, the original on game storming. Thank you. Gosh, you guys are awesome. Thanks, Jason. So that's posted in the chat. So you can, the original empathy map, learning more about that in game storming. So thinking and feeling. Great. Okay, so we've got that. Next, we're creating our user persona. I get more emails on this assignment than any other assignment. I use this in my marketing classes, my kind of marketing 101, and then also in my digital marketing classes, we kind of upgrade a little bit. But this allows that marketing student to think empathetically and thinking creatively about aspirations and afflictions to help those marketing tactics flow. Now we partner with analytics to really discover who these personas are, what tools they're using, you know, how, what their browsers, you know, all of those kind of analytics that build the story around that. So this is an example. I just pulled this from the web, Drew. And creating this user persona allows that digital marketing student that may be more analytical focused to use a template on Canva or PowerPoint or Google Slides, or pulling it down from another source, or partnering with a graphic designer, which is great. So, you know, to have that kind of collaboration, that's another kind of activity that I have done. But creating that user persona allows them to take all of that they learned from the empathy map and put that into that user persona to actually think about what that person does and what their core needs are, their motivations. And you can use all different types of kind of categories of who this user persona is. This is where I see my analytical students really kind of get it, that, oh, there's a human on the other side of that screen. Okay, excuse me, I am talking so much that it's getting hot in my office and children are outside, so I can open up my door, get a little fresh air here. All right, so this, is really kind of in that define stage of what we're doing with design thinking, to think about how we go through this process. Okay, now in the ideate phase, this is where I go through the exercise of how to make toast. So drawtoast.com is a great resource for you to be able to kind of understand how he thought of this exercise. And Tom does a great job of leading you through kind of the process. But basically, the phase of this kind of ideate allows us to think very simple and then work together as a team to create even a better idea. So the basic example, I have students take out a piece of paper and I ask them to silently, individually, draw how they make toast. And some people will have 15 steps, some people will have 3, some people will have one big image, but they draw how they make toast. And then I ask them to turn to their partner and taking their examples of their toast, and they work together as a team to draw an image together. And then I have them get in groups of 5. And so there's lots of different kind of ways that you can move through the process, but this is just one way to do it. And then I have them get in bigger groups, maybe groups of like 10 or 15, and they can't talk, but they have to take all of their little partner toast examples and work together with sticky notes or cards to be able to actually show that. So this ideation process and watching them go through this journey is almost like watching this rose kind of bloom and these ahas of, oh, this is how we can build on ideas. Harkening back to that, this is a safe place to fail. If my card doesn't make it up there, that's okay. And so this kind of culture of it's okay to fail, it really kind of highlights itself in how to make toast. So I encourage you to check out that website for more details. All right, so in the prototype phase, when we're doing this, one kind of assignment that kind of sparks this idea is taking the worst website possible, taking a screenshot of it, and then working together to form new information architecture, new design, new sort of customer journey. Maybe there's landing pages, etc., to understand how you can take something from nothing to something and actually getting your hands dirty. So I love Balsamic, and so I've posted that there. Lots of different levels of kind of, there is a free version for 30 days that your students can use, but this allows even the person that thinks that they aren't a designer or they don't know anything about website is to take that worst website, and believe me, there are some bad ones out there. There's worst website lists, etc., that you can Google, but it facilitates that simplification and also concision. So taking all of this noise in the digital marketing space and really kind of turning that and saying, what problem are we trying to solve? And oh, thank you, Garrett. My favorite worst website. So taking that and really kind of making that concise. Another wonderful skill in design thinking is we simplify, right? We make that concision possible. Okay, I'm watching my time here. I want to make sure I get through them all. And then focus group. I like to do this in 1 to 2 class periods. I don't give a lot of training or insight how to do this. I like quick surveys. Hey, create a survey in 20 minutes. Send out a poll. Text your friends, and just getting that feedback right away. Having them work within that 50 minutes or hour and a half to interpret that feedback and also adjust as needed. So that test phase doesn't become, 6 to 12 weeks necessarily. Just that quick data analysis gets those maybe more creative mindset folks into more analysis side of things and allowing them to really identify the quick data points to maybe, change something, etc. All right, so moving forward, this is, we all know when we put together a presentation and we have those kind of academic gods that just smile upon us. And so I put together slides 1 through 32. And I was like, I need to really do a little research on this and make sure what I'm saying is actually relevant and actually has some groundings in the research. And lo and behold, the academic marketing gods smiled upon me, and I happened across this article. So what's great about this article is it lists pretty much exactly what I just did, which is awesome, right? So we actually have proof that we can show our dean or a department chair that thinking in a digital marketing or design thinking mindset is important. So in marketing, in marketing curriculum and thinking, design thinking is steered towards improving the originality and usefulness of students' creative outcomes, especially in product design setting. While marketing education scholarship identifies the need for integrating design thinking and marketing, it offers little specificity as it relates to actual frameworks and exercises. So these researchers went through a process and kind of highlighted different ways of incorporating design thinking. And what they found in the end is that all students self-reported that they improved critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. Okay, so if we are graduating students that are critical thinkers, they're able to communicate, they're able to collaborate, and they're creative, we have done our job as teachers and leaders in the academic world, right? And these people that graduate will have that opportunity to really change our next generation. So, yes, 4 C's, Kim. That's right, 4 C's. So, hopefully, I have allowed you to see a little differently. Perhaps incorporating some of these assignment examples and more design thinking for yourself as an individual, as a instructor of marketing, as a professor. We can see the world a little differently. And this next semester, provide a little fun too. Students are going to be excited, but also a little nervous to have that collaboration. And so what does that look like for them? And I think just the tenets of what design thinking starts with, which is empathy, is just extremely important for us to offer to ourselves as instructors, as leaders, as thought leaders, but it's also important for our students. All right, take a deep breath. Any aha moments? I'm seeing some good conversation. Somebody's hungry for donuts, right? Good ideas here. So I think I'd ask the question, what will you do different next semester? And hopefully this has provided a little inspiration for you and also created some energy for yourself to go back to teaching in a really empathetic way, to show our students how it can be done in the boardroom as well. With that, thank you for listening. This has been fun. I really have been energized and sort of maybe re-energized. And so I want to open it up for questions. Haley, you're going to be facilitating that as I understand it, but I've been just kind of looking at various little quips and helpful tips from all of you. So thank you so much for contributing and participating. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, or let's just talk, or maybe your best practices that you've done. I need help too, so I'd be interested in learning more about those. So Haley, I'll let you take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Emily. That was a fantastic presentation. I love that you have a background in theater and improv, and it gives you such a different and unique perspective. Having done like choir and theater myself in high school, I can really relate.
Yay! Yes.
So thank you everyone for participating in the chats. We're going to start off with some Q&A. But first off, wanted to give a round of applause for our Dunkin' Donuts gift card winner, Lisa Coleman. I hope I'm saying that right, but I have you written down and I will send you out a gift card this afternoon. So as for questions, so the first one that I'm seeing came in from Jason Deutsch. So he says, I've done the empathy map as a card sorting exercise, but I wonder how that will work online. We're still fully online this fall. Do you have any recommendations?
I know the Post-it, there's a Post-it app that allows you to actually take just Post-its here and post on, you know, a background or a wall, and then you can actually get in and collaborate and move those around. So, you know, kind of in the same space. So that's a great app that I've used in terms of collaboration. I'm actually doing a research project this summer on brainstorming. And so we are going to be reviewing a bunch of electronic tools to actually kind of, you know, go through the brainstorming process, because I don't think there's a lot out there that are great. But that's one that I've used that's been really successful. And then it stores it and you can print it to a PDF. And that's a great also kind of assignment that they can upload for grading.
Another question, one from, Reese Williams. Is there a survey company you prefer to use?
You know, no. I think I still have a lot to learn about surveys. I sort of, you know, offer up SurveyMonkey. Google Forms, I think is helpful. You know, just kind of dumping that data into a Google sheet. You know, those are the tools that I've used, but I'm trying to think if there's any others that my students have found. I kind of let them do a little research for me. Sounds like I'm kind of shirking my responsibilities, but nothing in particular that I found that's really elegant. So that's what I would offer there.
Got it. Another question, one from Melinda Booz. Are the assignment examples from empathy map to test phase all parts of designing a strategy assignment?
They can be. I think how I use them, that's a great question. And I use them to kind of iterate the tools and the philosophies and the skills that you need in order to do that part of it. So almost kind of parallel tracks. And I've done this a couple of different ways, is that, you know, they're working with a business, they're, you know, actually going to create a digital marketing strategy, and they go through each of those 5 phases. But I do those examples to say, this is training. This is how you need to think about how you do it in this phase. So the draw toast, you know, sometimes translates very nicely if they're doing a business strategy for a local business, to actually, you know, say, okay, well, we're going to draw how you order a sandwich at your submarine sandwich shop or whatever. But basically, I use it to highlight the skills and the strengths that they need in order to go through those phases. So parallel tracks to the bigger kind of assignment at the bottom.
Fantastic. And I'm not seeing any other questions here in this chat. If someone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you online?
Oh, man. Well, find me on LinkedIn, Marketing Emily Quinn. So linkedin.com/marketing Emily Quinn is how you can find me. My email address at USD is Emily, EMILY.Quinn, QUINN, at USD.edu. So find me there. I don't know, send me a letter. Seems kind of fun in this digital age that we are. I'd be happy to, you know, collaborate. I need people out there, which is why I was so excited to participate in this exercise. So I need to, you know, fuel my teaching fire. So reach out, conversation, give me tips, tricks, anything. I'd love to chat.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again. Before we end this presentation, just a reminder. So next up, we have our final keynote session by Rafiq Sino, and that will be on the main stage. So you can find that by just going to the lobby and then clicking on stage on your left-hand side. And then after that, we will hear closing remarks from our CEO and co-founder, Stuart Draper. So thank you guys so much for participating and joining us. Emily, thank you so much for your amazing presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Nice to be with you. Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much. See ya.